Caution. Entertainment Banter uses potty language that most Sunday school teachers would not approve of. Viewer discretion is advised.
And we are back on the air with Banter. Entertainment Banter. My name is Joel.
And I'm Matt.
Yes, you are. And today's going to be a unique episode, I believe. I want to make it unique.
Okay.
Something different. Something we haven't talked about in a while. We've been talking about Marvel and Star Wars and Disney and all these movies. So I'm thinking let's take it back to our childhood.
Okay.
Do you remember? I can't whistle that well. Cartoons, man. Cartoon Network.
Cartoons.
That was Ed and Eddie, man.
Oh, that's okay. Gotcha.
You're gonna say that's terrible? That was awesome.
Between all the shows that they've done, it's not my favorite.
It is my favorite. So let's go back. Let's think about what the original cartoons were. These are mid '90s cartoons. These came out after like Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy were on the air. These are cartoons that Cartoon Network decided to make a network of just cartoons, and then they started making their original content. And this is their first original content, I believe. And we're talking like Johnny Bravo, Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory.
Yes. It's funny because I'm going to date myself, but I went to college around that time. And I was blown away by Cartoon Network as a whole, to be honest with you. This channel 100% dedicated to
I think you're pathetic.
Cartoons. Well, I'm just saying, because like they aired stuff. It was kind of like a drug dealer. They threw on cartoons that were already made, that was established by Warner Brothers. So like Scooby-Doo and the Flintstones were on there all the time. But
I remember where I was when I first found out about Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
I remember.
Well, what's interesting is what I like about the creation of cartoons is a couple of things. One, Cartoon Network today is nothing but cartoons. It's rare that you would get something else other than cartoons.
Other than their original content, right? It's all,
right.
I don't even watch. I don't own cable anymore. I don't pay that subscription.
No, I don't either. But that's what it is. And what's interesting to me is, like anything, they had a set plan. We talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Cartoon Network did the same thing.
You're garbage.
They started out with I had to bring it in.
I know, you definitely within 5 minutes you brought it up, but go on.
Yeah, not even. But they knew ahead of time that they were going to get to this point where the channel itself was going to be 100% committed to just their new content. But they had to get people interested in it, so into the channel, so they would air shows that people liked and grew up with,
which was great.
And
they still show, because they still have Toonami and Adult Swim on there.
Well, it turned into but it's not quite the same. But again, that's all original content too.
Well, they do anime. Especially that's what they do.
Very little, but they started doing their own anime and stuff. And what's interesting is, if you want the old stuff, you have to get Boomerang and everything else.
Which is another spawn of theirs, isn't it?
Right, but that's what I'm saying, though, is if you liked the original Cartoon Network, they're like, we'll still give it to you. The gateway drug, we'll still give it to you, but you have to pay extra for it. It's its own channel. We purposely started with those so that you would get hooked on Cartoon Network. Of course,
you're going to start a business, and your model is, I eventually want to have my own content. Netflix was the same way. Netflix started out with all these movies and everything, and now they're just pumping out their... I remember when they pumped out their first few original content, and everyone's like, these are good things. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to watch Netflix original shit. And then I eventually started to watch like House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, and I'm like, wow, these are really good. But then I realized the other day, looking on Netflix, it's all Netflix original content.
Yes, most of it. And it's going to have to be with all the new streaming stuff, which we've talked numerous times about.
Well, that's how you're going to make money.
Well.
That's because you got to pay royalties, the other things. If you do the way you do Netflix. I mean, a lot of the performers who are on Netflix, they don't get residuals. They get bought out.
Well, you know what's interesting is you brought up a good point, and that's the fact that I think Cartoon Network may have been the first real recipe for that. We did have at the time that it was a very special era for cable television because they started focusing on the channel specific to certain things. Like you had Lifetime, it was for females. it doesn't exist anymore. But you
Or
had
the
you had
Oxygen Channel.
you had Spike. You know what I mean? Spike
Right.
TV, which doesn't exist
It
anymore.
doesn't
Uh,
exist?
I don't think so. Maybe it
Well, they
does.
have
I don't think it
FX.
does.
FX is like a version of, I don't know.
Right.
That's a
FX, but
Disney
but
product
FX was
now.
Sci-Fi. Oh, FX is Fox. I'm sorry,
Right.
I was thinking of Sci-Fi Channel. But you know what I mean. So Sci-Fi was for Sci-Fi nerds. Comedy Central is for Comedy Central people. Comedy. So it was interesting. Like that was a new era, so to speak. But Cartoon Network was. They were all kind of doing their one or two shows, but Cartoon Network was the first to really create their own original content, like you were saying, like Netflix. I think they were kind of like the foundation of that platform in a way, if you think about it. But with cartoons, it started with one 30-minute show once a week.
And
That,
it was 3 different shows in one, wasn't it? It was like
what was interesting is it was actually a testing ground because what they did was they would come up with 3 shorts
right.
in that one
And that's where the
20-minute
Powerpuff
show.
Girls came from, Johnny
And
Bravo and
and I think
Dexter.
they even opened it up
What was the other one?
where the audience could vote on what they liked, which ones were good and which ones
Possibly.
were bad.
What was
And oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What was the one with the cow?
Cow and chicken.
Cow and chicken. I
Yeah.
hated that one.
Yeah. So yeah, but my point is they introduced them that way, and the ones that had the best ratings or the most likes is the ones that got shows. And I remember there was a show about a robot, and I thought it was kind of cute, but it never made the cut.
But it's
And
in like
it was
during this the time of Nicktoons, and Nicktoons was going off too as well, like with like Rocker's Modern
Sort of.
Life and
Yeah, sort of. But I think
Doug.
Cartoon Network, yeah. But Cartoon Network started out cartoons that way, and then obviously it evolved where they got a show once a week instead of it aired once a day, Monday through Friday, and then it slowly progressed and
Well, they
became
got their
this
2
monstrous beast.
Yeah, they turned into 2 little 15-minute episodes, like
Yeah.
each one,
And
which isn't fun. It's fun to watch a 12-minute episode, whatever it is, and
Right.
be done with
And what's
it.
interesting too is what I liked about cartoons was the fact that it's the modern era's version of Hanna-Barbera. Because if you go back,
That's like 70s, isn't it?
yes,
You're dating
but when you
yourself.
go, it's okay. But when you look at the Hanna-Barbera stuff, it's the same idea. They had a couple of kids solving mysteries, and yeah, everyone says, "Oh yeah, it's with a dog and a Scooby Doo." But actually, if you go back, they did Goober, I don't know, Ghost Chasers or whatever it was. They did Funky Phantom. They had this. You could see them trying to mess with the recipe to try to make it to finally get the recipe right, so to speak. And they did that with every show. And Father Knows Best, or no, that's something else. What was it? Wait Till Your Father Comes Home. There was the Flintstones. There was all these other shows revolving like the Roman Holidays. There was all these shows that were like this formula that they were trying to get, and they came out with a lot of them. And Cartoon is the modern day version of that.
Okay.
It's the modern day Hanna-Barbera. Instead of
If you say
Flintstones, it's Powerpuff Girls. Instead of Scooby Doo, it's Johnny Bravo. Instead of pick something else.
Dexter.
Yeah, Dexter's Lab. Back in the day would have been, I don't know, Speed Buggy. I have no idea. But my point is, it's like it's the modern day stuff. It's the modern day Hanna-Barbera because that's the company that's making it. The company that started it was Hanna-Barbera.
Well, yeah, they say at the end of the episodes, yeah, it's Hanna-Barbera. Yeah.
So now that we've bored our audience to death with the history of it, let's talk about the shows themselves, from the first original ones to what's out there now.
I don't know what really is out there now, but I remember just watching growing up,
Well, what were some of your favorite ones growing up?
Ed, and Eddie was one. When they, so Dexter, Cow and Chicken, Powerpuff Girls, and Johnny Bravo were the main 4, right?
I believe
they
so.
were going. I think there was probably one other, but I can't remember it. But I didn't like Cow and Chicken.
Well, okay. Early on, there was a show called The Adventures of Grim.
Grim and yeah, was that
Evil,
Cartoon
but
Network?
they got it. It was, and what they did was they got rid of the evil portion, and they just called it the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Later on, and they tried to reboot it, and that one was more successful.
Right.
What's even more interesting is right now, currently, they brought Evil back, and it's its own show.
Interesting.
So they brought
now they can get more gutsy since they have like their following.
Right, but I just found it that to me that's a fun history because it's like the Cocoa Krispies or something like or Cookie Crunch cereal
Right.
where it originally started with the cops and robbers and the dog chasing after
Yeah.
the criminal, and then
Cookie Crisp.
but we can't have people stealing cookies, so then they got rid of the robber, and it was just a robber dog and a cop, and then they got rid of the cop and it was just a dog, and then it wasn't a dog anymore. They turned it to a wolf, and now that's the spokesperson. I just like the evolving
Evolution.
Yeah. So, like for example, with Grimm, the Evil Adventures of Grimm, and whatever it was,
Yeah.
I can't even remember the title now, but
Mhm.
I think it's cool that they got rid of the evil and just did Grimm, and now Grimm's over, and now they're doing evil.
That's
I
funny.
just think that's kind of interesting.
They did that following now. Like you get to a point where with a show or something where you were doing so well, you could almost do no wrong, and all people want to do is watch it. And you bring it to Comic Con, you bring it to WonderCon, you bring it to the Anime Expo, you bring it to New York Comic Con, you bring it to all these cons, and you see how people react to it, and you're like, yeah, we're gonna go with this kind of thing, and
Right.
it's kind of interesting. But I remember when they had the original 4 that I was watching, who I mentioned earlier, you started seeing this commercial for this, Ed, Ed, and Eddie, and it was Jawbreakers. And I remember when I first watched the first episode of that, and I was like, I hated their voices, I didn't like
Yep.
it, and then all of a sudden, it's my favorite one. I love it. There's an episode of Ed, Ed, and Eddie where they are totally on an acid trip, completely on an acid trip, and it's such a great episode. Or there's another favorite episode is when Ed. I like how they call them each. They're all named Ed, and they all have their
Right.
own way. There's Ed,
It's
there's
just a
double
different
D,
spelling.
double D, and then there's Eddie. And
Right.
Ed, the dumb one, he thought he was a monster, and his imagination went wild. And the whole episode was him being a monster to everybody. And like there was like a thriller movie or like a hack and slash movie, and it was
Yes.
so funny. Like his reactions and how I just imagine like their life like that. That was my childhood growing up in the summer. Like we were kicked out of the house and we had to find our
Right.
own ways. And
No, it's
me
true.
as
It's
Eddie,
true.
like I always looked at myself as Eddie because I was always trying to be that entrepreneur, trying to make money off my neighborhood friends.
Right. Right.
So I think it's always funny, not to get jawbreakers, but
You know what? Ed, Ed, and Eddie reminds me of is Bill Cosby, like Fat Albert in the Gang. That's what it reminds me of.
Really?
Because they
They
all
could've
hung out in the
gotten-
junkyard and tried to do creative things out of
They didn't hang out in
nothing.
a junkyard,
You know what I mean?
Ed and Eddie. They were in a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, they did.
There was a
Yeah,
cul-de-sac.
they
Well, they went to the new housing development, and there is a junkyard they do go to. And
Right.
yeah. And I just
So-
it was a clever show, and there was this moment like we found your magazine under the bed, Eddie, and it's like. Those magazines, like they're porn, of course, and
Right,
it's just funny
right.
the implications. And I'm gonna watch it right now. All right.
Maybe
Talk
you're
to
just gonna
yourself,
stop
Matt.
the
I'm gonna go
podcast
watch.
and you're
I'm
just
gonna
gonna
go
watch it.
this.
All right, I'll just talk for the remainder of the time.
I mean, the last one you
I never
talked so
got
much.
into edit. I found the animation very irritating to watch.
You have
Like
to
I
just
didn't
get
like
used to it. You get used to.
I didn't
things
like the
that.
character designs. I just
Sure,
thought
sure,
the
sure.
characters were. I just didn't care for it. I tried and I just couldn't get
We were
into
friends.
it.
We were friends.
I
get it.
I liked Dexter's Lab, and I think I liked it before it got really like popular because I liked the idea of a little kid being such a genius.
And he has his own lab. It was
But
so
then
great.
he's scared to go buy light bulbs in a store.
Oh yeah. And then
You know what I
and then
mean?
his
Like to
sister
me, I
always-
thought that was he could be that ingenious, but then like the kid came out. I thought especially those early episodes,
he's
I thought
still a
were
child.
cute.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I like the fact that no matter what he did with his laboratory, and somehow he's the only one with the accent. I don't know how he had the only accent in the family. That was
Right,
funny.
right.
And his sister would always find a way to get in there.
Yes,
I thought that was
and
really
I love how
funny.
she's incredibly annoying, but yet what I liked about her character too was the fact that she still taught him street smarts.
And he's
you know
still
what I mean?
still a sister too. There was a moment where like he
Right.
hates her, and then like she defends him or something, and it was just.
Or vice versa. He will still
Yeah.
go protect her.
Did
yes.
you ever see the movie? They made the movie of like future
I
Dexter.
did.
It was so good.
It was I can't remember the name of it, but they only
Yeah.
released it I think on VHS, and I can't find it anywhere.
Oh, I should go
It's
find
interesting. Yeah, but there was something else too. We were talking. Oh, we didn't talk about Powerpuff Girls. So with Powerpuff Girls,
it. Sugar.
I thought the
spice
premise was really clever.
and everything.
You know,
nice.
I thought that was a really clever.
Hold
thing.
on.
And Mojo Jojo
So
was a great
you
villain.
have this middle-aged man who can't find a wife, goes
Yeah.
into his laboratory, and he starts making little girls. And you think that premise is okay? He's making little girls
When
in
you
the
say
kitchen.
it like that, it does sound terrible. Yes.
Just,
I don't. Do they explain why he was making little girls?
That's a
now I
huge
feel
plot point, right?
now I feel like a pedophile. Why'd you have to bring that up? That's
It's
terrible.
creepy. It's awful.
It is terrible now that
I'm
you
sure
say that. Why?
there's a lot out there. I'm sure there's a lot of things going on out there.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well,
But
let's
yeah,
move
the
on from
Mojo
that.
Jojo was cute. I mean, the premise is really cute. Bubbles and
Let's talk about Johnny
Blossom
Bravo, the chauvinist pig.
the
Did
one.
you care for that one?
Do you think it's canceled now because he is the white male everyone hates right now? He is Donald Trump.
Well, it got canceled a long time
He
ago.
grabs
But
a lot of girls by the pussy.
it's so ridiculous. But it showed chauvinism at its the core. So obviously he was always in the wrong. But but in a weird sort of way, he also did the right thing. I think it's a funny kind of thing how they combined a beefcake with Elvis Presley.
Oh yeah, that was kind of what his thing was.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like to me, he would still do the right thing even sometimes, even though he would do it the wrong way.
He was a
weird.
good guy.
It was weird.
Bottom line, he was a good guy. He wasn't. He wasn't.
And what's interesting about a lot of the cartoon things, and you're gonna roll your eyes, is but they made a lot of tributes to old movies like Back to the Future and Star Wars, pop culture.
Yes.
All the early ones
that
did
a lot.
do those things. Yeah.
Yes.
They
did.
What about? So you're not familiar with the more recent ones or the last few years?
I'm trying to think what the new recent ones are. Yeah, I don't even know.
There's been so many.
You're the nerd. You tell me.
Well, I mean,
You've
it's
watched
not
them.
new anymore, but I did enjoy the regular show. But that's because
The
it did a lot
regular
of
show. That is a cartoon, right?
Yeah, that was because they did a lot of pop culture references from my generation. So, I've never got into Adventure Time, but a lot of people like that one.
Yeah, I had a buddy who got into Adventure Time. He told me to watch it, and I didn't.
Yeah, I couldn't get it. Again, if the character designs are too and regular shows a terrible example because it's kind of hypocritical. But I don't like. Character design matters to me, and if I want to punch what I'm looking at, I can't watch it. Does that make any sense? Even regular. That's why for the longest time, regular show, I didn't even give it the time of day because I'm like, this is stupid. It's a bird. I don't know what the hell he is.
Invader Zim was that cartoon or a Nicktoon?
I think that's Nickelodeon.
And then Rick and Morty was Adult Swim, right?
Yes, but let's talk about that too because as we move forward, I would consider.
So before you start talking and start confusing the shit out of me, like you always do in these podcasts, Cartoon started, and then it got popular, and then it created in the middle of it somewhere Cartoons, and then there was Toonami. So then Toonami got created after this, and Toonami was a block of for the older kids. And that's where they started showing
a gateway drug again.
It was another gateway drug, and then when Toonami got successful and they started doing their own thing, it was Moltar from Space Coast to Coast. And then at night on Cartoon Network, they had a segment called Space Coast to Coast, and it was every night, and it was like their adult TV show. And it was like their late night TV show, like Jay Leno, but it was the cartoon version, Swim. And they had live people on it.
Yes,
and then that was the birth of Adult Swim, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Toonami, Cartoons, and Adult Swim they all needed each other to create what they are today. I don't even know what Adult Swim is now, to be honest. Like some of the shows they got on it were outrageous.
It's so bad. Well, and the irony is, that's the sad part is Cartoon Network is no longer cartoon, especially when it comes to Adult Swim. It's adults doing really stupid things. Like, I don't know how these shows last as long as these. There's got to be a lot of kids that just get high.
Show.
Yeah, like some of it is just so stupid. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like they must be their own producers because that's the only way it can still be getting made. You know what I mean? Because I don't know anybody. I honestly don't know anybody that watches that shit. And if there's people that do, and that they truly love it,
they're not people I like.
I don't know who they are.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know who they are.
But I really appreciated that Space Ghost Coast
that was great.
That was a great show, and I liked how they had Moltar doing Toonami, and they made jokes about it during that.
Yes,
and the whole thing worked because it was all that, which then spawned off Birdman, Attorney at Law, because I was part of
Right.
that same cartoons, and it also
And the
spawned
Brat
the
Show.
Brat Show, which was
Yep.
okay. I didn't really like it, but it still
No, when
worked. It
I
came
first
off of
saw,
that, and then it
yeah, what was?
also.
Oh, go
What,
ahead,
you
I'm
gonna keep
sorry.
going? You gonna keep
Well, I
interrupting
was just,
me?
yes, I am. I'm just gonna say, like when the Brat Show came out, I thought that was a piece of crap. Like I hated
Absolutely,
it.
me too.
But the sad part is, if you go back and watch it now, compared to what's out there,
It's good.
it's good.
But you
It
got
shows you what happens with time.
your original Adult Swim shows were the Space Ghost Coast to Coast, which then you had Birdman, Attorney at Law, which was fantastic. I like how I don't know what it turned into, but the original concept was him defending cartoon characters. Like Fred
Yes.
Flintstone was being defended. Like one of the first
Yes.
episodes was Shaggy and Scooby smoking weed. I thought they were
Yes.
great episodes.
Yeah, it was clever how they were poking
Yeah.
fun at their
And then you-
history of Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah.
Their
And
you know
then
what I
you
mean? They're
had C Lab 2021, which was literally
That's
just
right.
redubbed from the original
Yes.
episodes. And I remember how they made it to like season 6, and they just dubbed over original episode. Like the episode was literally an original episode. You're like, where's the punchline? It was just the new actors, new voice actors, but the original script, and it was hilarious.
That's funny.
And then you had Aqua
That's
Teen
funny.
Hunger Force, which was fantastic as well.
I never got into that one either.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was at the time I was just a diva. I just thought it was too stupid again.
Yeah, you are.
So, yeah. So I don't know. Yep. So I don't know. Like for me, what's amazing though is I don't think I could list all the shows that Cartoon Network did that were cartoon. There was like I forget what it was called, but there was a music one that something class of 2000 or 3000. There was Foster's Home for Imaginary Children. I mean, these shows I didn't watch all of these, but Kids Next Door. I'm trying to think of all the ones that came out and came and went, like Camp Lazlo. There was, I mean, I can't even list them all.
Camp Lazlo, like you know more than I do.
Well, no, what I'm saying is I'm desperately trying to remember all of them. There's been so many. Samurai Jack, obviously, that was a great one.
Dude, okay, so I have a funny story about Samurai Jack.
Go for it.
So I was at Comic-Con one year when Samurai Jack made it through one season, and I remember sitting down at the panel for cartoons and then Adult Swim.
Yeah.
At Comic-Con. This is probably a year, 2004. I don't know. I mean, I was going for a long time when I was a child, so I got to see a lot of cool things, and they came to every panel has a 30-minute question and answer segment, and it's a chance for fans to ask the creators and shit questions on their works. And this person got up and they said, I wanted to thank you for making Samurai Jack. Because Samurai Jack was literally like no dialogue, just fighting.
It was just
just action.
First of its kind.
Right?
It was first of its kind.
I think it was neat, but I never really liked it myself. I watched it here and there, and I thought some of the story was interesting, but the no dialogue was like, you need dialogue. You need some good dialogue to really draw someone in. It was just a very unique show. And I remember this chick, this dumb fat bitch, she goes, I really like Samurai Jack because I like how you get to see all the action. Not like Dragon Ball Z where they spend forever diddle-daddling and there's like no action.
Because she's making fun of Dragon Ball Z.
And the thing is, I'm like thinking in my mind, I wanted to get up and go, bitch, they are two completely different shows. You cannot compare that.
They are. And
you're like eating an orange and going, God, I wish I had to peel this. I mean, like an apple. I mean, shit.
Right. Well, plus Cartoon Network did not make Dragon Ball Z.
No.
Well, I will.
Fuck that
it's funny with. Calm down.
No, I can't calm down.
Can't calm down. With Samurai Jack, what I appreciated was the fact that it grew with me over time. At first, I thought it was kind of out there, and maybe a little slow.
Still is,
but it grew on me, and I started to appreciate the artwork. It was very. I started realizing if you were to pause this show, you would look at something kind of cinematic, and then that's what I started to appreciate.
They drew a lot of cinematic scenes in that.
I don't know if you know this, but they've started rebooting some of their shows, and they finished Samurai Jack. They kind of finished it. Yeah, because it kind of left
it back home.
Well, actually, I don't even remember. I watched the whole thing, but I don't remember what happened.
Because that was the story, right? He got like
he finds love. I know that.
No, I
But
thought he didn't. He couldn't make it home. I thought that was the whole
right,
thing.
that was part of this overall theme of this show. Yes, but I don't know if they addressed it as much as they addressed him finding some love. Like that was his happiness instead.
Interesting.
I can't remember, but what ruined Samurai Jack was the same people that were doing Samurai Jack did the Clone Wars cartoon that was like those 3-minute shorts, 2-minute shorts
Those were
before
cool.
episode
Those
3 came out.
Yeah.
And so they never got to finish it, and then they finally went back years later, and it only came out maybe a couple years ago, but they redid the show, and talking about the cinematic look and the artwork, even they really went to town in this last season, and it looked beautiful. I thought they did a great job.
Maybe I should check that out. Who knows?
Yeah. But that's it. I mean, do you have anything else you want to say before we go?
No, I mean, I'm going to probably go download that Dexter Laboratory movie. I want to see if I can get it.
I was trying to remember what it was called, Eco something, or I can't remember what it was.
We can Google it after this. We don't need to.
Yeah.
We don't need to waste our.
We don't need to banter it on our
we
podcast.
don't need to waste our viewer time. Our one.
All right, well, I guess on that note, we won't waste any more time, Joel. Thank you for listening to Entertainment Banter. I am Matt.
And I am Joel. I'm done.
Click it, stick it, and enjoy it.